Every successful organization begins with its people. At Incredible Workplaces, we help you build workplaces that inspire, engage, and endure. Recognition starts with certification. Our globally benchmarked evaluation celebrates organizations that foster engagement, inclusivity, and innovation. Certification is more than a badge. It's proof that your culture empowers people to excel. Through consulting, we partner with organizations to transform cultures, strengthen leadership, and build workplaces that adapt, innovate, and thrive. Your story deserves to be heard. With our employer branding solutions, we showcase your culture through featured videos, exclusive events, and media spotlights, ensuring you attract and retain top talent with pride. From recognition to transformation and employer branding, our services create workplaces that inspire people and elevate businesses. Are you ready to transform your workplace into a beacon of excellence? Partner with Incredible Workplaces today.
Thanks a lot, Incredible Workplace, for this recognition. Thank you.
Proud to be Incredible Workplaces.
I'm proud to share that MB Informatics has been certified as an incredible workplace.
Feeling proud to be recognized as Incredible Workplace Certified.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the show Voices That Lead. My name is Mayank Ahuja and I'll be your host for the day. Today, we are going to talk about something that truly tests the essence of leadership. And the topic is empathetic leadership in times of layoffs. To have this meaningful conversation, we are joined by some truly inspiring HR leaders, individuals who have navigated challenging times with both heart and wisdom. So may I first invite Ms. Anisha Jayarajan, Vice President, People Team, FS Life.
Hi everyone. Hi, I'm Mayank.
Hello, Ms. Anisha. Our second guest is Ms. Sangeeta Sivaraj, General Manager, Philips.
Hey, hi Mayank. Thank you for having me. Good evening all.
Most welcome, Sangeeta ji. Next is Ms. Anjali Sachdeva, VP HR, Globe Dental.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Welcome, Ms. Anjali. Then our next guest is Mr. Captain Vipul Sharma, Director HR, GA and IT at Misumi, India. Captain Vipul Sharma. We're just waiting for him to join. Yes, Ms. Vishakha, is Captain joining? Technology plays funny at times.
It does, for sure.
Yeah. So our next guest is Mr. Harshraj Jain, Talent Acquisition Head, APAC at Ebex.
Hi everyone.
Again, technology is playing funny. We all are getting different highs from you. Mr. Jain?
Hello everyone. I'm sorry for this technical glitch. Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible. Perfectly
Thank you
audible.
so much. Thanks, Mayank, and everyone in the panel for inviting us. So let's look forward. Thank you.
Sure. Ms. Vishakha, is Captain joining in? Captain Vipul Sharma? Okay, we can move forward. By the time he joins, we can just start the conversation. Great. A warm welcome once again to all the panelists and the audience. Layoffs are never just business decisions. They are deeply human moments. They affect careers, families, and emotions. And how leaders handle them can define the culture of an organization for the years to come. In such times, empathy isn't about avoiding tough choices. It's about making them with compassion, transparency, and respect. So to start with, my first question will be with Ms. Anjali Sachdeva. So, Ms. Anjali, when organizations are forced to take restructuring decisions, How can leaders ensure empathy is embedded right from the planning stage and not just during the communication? Miss Anjali.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Mike, for asking such a pertinent question. Uh, See, layoff as such is not a great exercise, frankly speaking. At the end of the day, the blame goes to HR, and HR gets tagged as a monster. So, for me, before I get on to answering your question, I want to share an experience of mine when I joined an organization and I was told to lay off around 150 people on the seventh day of my working. So, that was quite a depressing scenario for me. And that point of time, I got reminded of lines from Bhagavad Gita, where Lord Krishna was telling Arjun that this is your karma bhumi and you have to perform, you have to act as per the role assigned to you. So when I got reminded of those lines, I then could put my emotions together, and then I got onto the job. The first and foremost thing there was doing an intense planning. And here, I think I would also recommend to all my HR colleagues that it's not only about communication of layoff, but it's about the intense planning where you put everything together in a very very structured manner, where you first start with the planning stage of what do you say, deciding should we really go to laying off the people, or can we really restructure the organization in the sense like you give them sabbatical, or you send them on furlough, or you give them reduced hour, and if nothing works, then of course you're left with no other option but to lay off people. And the entire exercise has to be very very transparent. So ensuring that transparency, you have to involve all the leaders. Yeah, so leaders should be ready for it. And this exercise is not traumatic only for HR but for them as well, because they're losing their team members. So first the communication has to be given to them. The management should also be involved in telling them as to why the restructuring is happening, which is resulting in layoff. And once they are aligned, then they'll be able to make a proper list where there is no biasness and there's fair amount of transparency. Yeah, so then you have made leaders also party to it. And then very very important thing is that we have to have proper support system in place. It's not only just telling employees that you're going, in case you are able to make this entire event a pleasant event where you tie up with some agencies and you arrange for their outplacement. You also create some sort of network where they can get proper placement. So I think that should also be facilitated, and all that should be planned in advance. It should not be after you have already communicated. And one more thing which I really think about is the timings. One should be really, really careful that it should not be time of festival when you are breaking this news, and it should not be very close to their birthdays or their marriage anniversaries, or because it creates a bad scenario not only for the employees, it's also trauma for the family. So therefore, these are few things we should keep in mind before getting into the layoff activity, the planning stage. And this is what I feel, Mike, is very, very critical for HR managers. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely correct. Thank you so much for sharing the real experience, essentially. In fact, even I remember there was in one of my organizations, some layoff was going to happen, and it was just before Diwali. So, of course, as the head of HR, I pushed the organization. I asked them that please, at least we cannot do this 2 days in advance of Diwali. We have to at least do it after Diwali. So at least Diwali should be good for them. So, of course, thank you so much, Ms. Anjali. That sets a great foundation on how empathy can be built into decision making itself. Now, let's move to another crucial aspect. So, Captain, my question is from Mr. Captain Vipul Sharma. So, Captain Sharma, are you there?
Yes,
Yes.
can you hear me now? Am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you, Captain. First of all, welcome to the show, Captain. Somehow, initially, we missed you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit technical glitch, just trying to connect.
Yeah, of course, I understand. So, Captain Sharma, difficult conversations are unavoidable during layoffs. So, from your leadership experience in the past, what communication principles help leaders remain honest yet compassionate in these moments?
I think that's the most important thing is the transparency. I think the whole process of a layoff has to be planned in a particular way that ensures the transparency to the employees. I frequently have seen these things in the organization and heard about them, and in terms of counsel many employees employees who are going off. I think empathy is very clearly missing in the entire process. The the organization reacts in a very haphazard manner when such layoffs have to be done. There's not clear planning, and of course, in terms of the communication, they need to be, one, I said, very transparent. Second, they really have to focus on the next journey of the employees whom they are going to lay off. It is important that the employees, the affected employees, they have to be treated in a personal setup. You just don't want to do it in an email version, which we just saw today in the news about the Amazon, how they have done it. So it is important that a proper strategy has to be made, and also to ensure. I just heard about a company wherein they hired an agency to place the employees when they laid off 70 employees. I think it was Airbnb. So by the time they did lay off these 70 employees in a matter of 3 months, and severance and the other emotional angles also being taken care of by hiring some agency for the mental health of the employees and their well-being, keeping in mind. So I think these are certain modes wherein, in terms of the communication, which we can focus upon. Yes.
Great, very well put, Captain. And that's an excellent example from Airbnb that you have just quoted. That's really nice. In fact, I've also heard about, I think Jubilean was the organization, and well, once they had decided to lay off few people, they had also called some ambulance also once they were laying off people, or once they were communicating, so that, and the doctors were also available, so that in case anything major happens, that should not happen, that thing can be also be taken care of. And of course, this consultant thing. So and that's, and of course, the balance between honesty and empathy is indeed a fine one. Now let's explore how these decisions influence an organization reputation in the larger talent landscape. So, Mr. Harshraj Jain, now my next question is to you. Layoffs often shift employer brand perception in the talent market. So, how do you think that can leaders uphold empathy while safeguarding the organization's long-term talent reputation?
Right, man. Thanks for asking, and thanks for all the other fellow members who have put in their input. So I'll just put a word as survivor guilt. I hope you understand survivor guilt. So
it'll be great if you can just explain it to us for the benefit of the audience.
Sure. So I'll be very candid and upfront. Our organization was going through a turmoil last year, and we entered into Chapter 11 to move us off from bankruptcy. And then we just had the new leadership coming in, and there was a merger and acquisition which happened. So there are new promoters now. So what happened, there were unfortunate times. And in those times, one of our line of business, we have 32 line of businesses. So under which one of the business was into travel. So unfortunately, that's a live scenario I'm just discussing. So, and I don't mind. It can be definitely a case study and a learning through. So 75 people were laid off due to certain reasons to make P&L intact and to, move way forward. So there were a lot of turbulence that the leadership has changed. Company has entered into Chapter 11. How the survival will happen. The new promoters have come into place. Lot of things were happening in altogether. So the good part is that HR has taken a very standstill and has taken a very strong, commitment towards doing it. So what happened was 75 people were laid off, and it was not that easy. However, what we did was we did in phases, like 10 to 15, then 15 to 20, likewise. So we completed the count of layoff of 75 people in 3 months' time. So what we did was we actually, utilized our goodwill. There were times when we acquired Yatra as an entity with an amount of 2,300 crores. I'm just naming the organization, but it was the year 2019 in September. So soon after that, March 2020, COVID came into place and nobody was aware of it. And travel was one of the most badly hit entity. Why? Because there was no flights, no travel which was happening. Everything was sealed because of the COVID-19. Right. So what we did was, through those turbulent times, the need of the hour was we just generated all the goodwill from the leadership team that you have acquaintances at the top level. Nobody uses and put that gravity of that goodwill in line and just try to refer. So what we did was we did 101 session. Just believe we did 101 session with all those 75 people were able to understand to what level they were, and they were starting off from salary of 60,000 to 30 lakhs. Right? I'm just talking about per month salary of those people. Mm-hmm. So we did those sessions with them, were able to identify and understand the needs, and that's how we decided the phase. that whosoever needs that severance and whosoever will look forward for an exit in the organization first. So what we did was we did in a descending order, so that people who had more salaries, however, their survival ratio would be much better than the people who had lesser salaries to be drawn in per month. So that's how we did, and we recommended, we gave a recommendation letter to the diaspora of the travel fraternity. There are a lot of travel giants, so we
Right.
did that through that leverage. So all those leaders were able to recommend, and they ensured in to have a one-on-one call with them, just ensured that their leadership accept them. Before that, our HR team, our HR BP team, what they did was they gathered in the requirements from the market, from Naukri and from their career website and all. And when we put this as a case study to them, that these are the requirements which you saw in your current organization, and we would like to highly recommend the person. So the window of saying no was very less or very minimal, I would say. And this way we were able to transition those people, and it differs from notice period of 3 months to 2 months to 1 month. Likewise, we gave them the severance allowance and we recommended them. And believe you me, I'm being very honest, there was no news in the market. Trust me, there was no news in the market that last year through to this year that we have laid off 75 people, because it was done in such a seamless manner, wherein it included empathy, it included that ownership, that survivor guilt. Because if you would have done this in a format of mass layoff and just a communication to all in one go, that would have been different by seeking in all those turmoil which we have seen in other cases of the organization. So by seeing those fallouts, so what we did was we did a corrective course of action, and this happened last year, October, November, December too. It just carried forward through January and February. So this is how we were able to do it. And when I was talking about survivor guilt, after doing this, then we made an announcement and we did lot of and multiple town halls, location specific, location wise, pan India, that these were the times where we have to make sure that selling price always has to be more than the cost price. So we have to take those tough calls, but you don't have to live into those survivor guilts, to ensure that once we will be back to normal and we start to hire, this will not put a dent. So that's why this did not came into place, that they had some inhibitions and insecurity of the survivor guilt. Why I talked about this live case study, because this includes all of it, what we are talking from the starting till the end. We have experienced it, and we have bridged in, and we have lived up to those expectations. And believe you me, by God's grace and blessings of all the HR colleagues and everyone, we are back to normal and we have started to hire. So now those times, they have not hit us back hard to get the right talent, and that kind of trust through transparency has been built in further, and people are showing that trust and belief. And now we are debt free, and we have just come out of chapter 11, and we have started to survive the business, and there are a lot of AI intervention which is happening, and we have started to hire. So now if you ask me, that there is a shortfall of 680 lateral hires and early talents around 250. So that is how we have traveled in the journey. So when we talk about that leadership and this stint of layoffs, and we have to be empathetic, so it is not just lip sympathy or words. When we have practical experiences, so we are very, very, very confident now. So if something happens, it happens the very first time, because it may not have happened during those acquisitions we did since 2000 to 2022, 24, 25. So now this was a very, very good experience for us. There were certain fallouts also, but we experienced it, and thanks to the commitment of the HR team and the entire fraternity of travel. So through this medium, I want to thank them, and they were with us, and we were able to survive on, and we are going good. God bless. Believe me. So that is my submission.
That's excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Hers. That's a classic example of practicing empathy. Thank you so much for giving that example. And I'm sure that those 3 months would have been really, really tough for you and for the entire organization, not only for the HR team, but for the other employees also, who might be thinking that I am next in the list, or who is on the list, next on the list. So,
and man, believe me, I'm sorry to interrupt. Even though we touch base with them now also, they very well feel to be more willing to come back to us. We call it as homing pigeon, coming back home, likewise. So they share that trust. They do not have that, dent in their mind that, those were the times that they asked us to leave. So why should we come back? Because, you build that trust. You create it, you build it, and then you just try to survive it. So now also we try to touch base with them. They feel that confinement, that commitment, and they hold that trust that yes, during those times when they laid off, they were there. हिंदी में अगर मैं बोलूं, उन्होंने बोला कि नहीं, हमारा कहीं से कहीं तक उन्होंने साथ नहीं छोड़ा. तो अब अगर हमें वो बुलाना चाहते हैं, तो they feel so gratified, and it just hold that fulfilling feeling that they still are willing to come back. So that is what I want to tell you as well.
That's excellent. That's excellent. That says a lot about the organization. That says a lot about their trust in you, in your organization. Excellent. Of course, that's also an important reminder that empathy extends beyond current employees to the entire ecosystem. So the people who have also gone to some other organizations, of course, it impacts them also. So let's now touch upon another dimension, that is diversity and fairness in decision making. So my next question is to Ms. Sangeeta Sivaraj. So Ms. Sangeeta, layoffs can sometimes unintentionally deepen diversity gaps. Many times we already have that diversity gaps, and that can further deepen it. So what then should leaders adopt to ensure decisions remain equitable, ethical, and unbiased?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Mike. In fact, it's a very different perspective. First of all, how a layoff is being viewed by an organization truly determines the organization's values per se. So, when a layoff decision is made, the decision is purely based on a business impact. It is also, of course, tied up to a cost. But is that what is going to be truly a driving strategy? But rather, we have to look at what's going to be a long lasting impact, and thereby also call out the diversity representation. Also look at the long-term culture of the organization that you want to drive on, and of course to eliminate the systemic bias. I think it has to be a very conscious decision when the decision is made at the top layer on why we're doing this entire transformation and how is it going to be having a layoff impact per se. And like you rightly called out, diversity is always looked at from a perspective of hiring and how do we pull in information or pull in the diversity targets when we have those specific KPIs. But what we do not see is from the attrition standpoint, especially when there are layoffs, when there is a forced attrition standpoint. I think as an organization, we really have to look at the dimension. I'm not saying we'll have to stop that mechanism just because we have a DNI KPI. We ensure that the role is not being redundant, but that gets into the bias mode. But at least I think we have to make a conscious decision that, okay, this is happening and this is where my organization is going to be leading. And come downward, build another strategy to rebuild your DNI index on how you wanted to have your organization's DNI parameters to be. I think that's what the key differentiation is.
That's such a crucial perspective, Ms. Sangeeta. Diversity and fairness truly test a leader's integrity in these times, and very rightly said. So, finally, let's hear how empathy aligns with compliance and legal responsibility. So, my next question is to Ms. Anisha Jayarajan. So, Ms. Anisha, from an HR and compliance standpoint, how can leaders handle layoffs sensitively while maintaining legal rigor and protecting employees' dignity?
Thanks, Mank. I've heard to all the other leaders who are there, and I think while we talk about empathy, preparedness, everything, compliance comes first. I'll always emphasize on that, more from the perspective of the layoff happens because of certain decisions which have been done at the organizational level. So while we are thinking about the team members who we'll have to part ways with, what we have to ensure is that we protect their rights as well as we protect the organizational positioning as well. Now, while we talk about it, let me be honest, layoffs just doesn't happen in India only. So we have many multinational organizations also here. So whenever these kind of layoffs happen, what is also important for most of the organizations is that they divide themselves as being multinational or they are based out of India. And if it is multi-country, that then compliances have to be adhered to different countries. I know of organizations where the country level discussions, you cannot just have the layoff like that. You have to prepare yourself, you have to make the person sit, there has to be a counseling session, then they have to be given 30 days. So there are countries like that also there who do it, right? So, and I'm sure in India, when it comes to layoff, whether it is under Shop and Establishment or under Factories Act, it has been very clearly mentioned the compliances that needs to be adhered to. Now, while we are doing all these things, I, as an HR personnel, have always recommended to any of the organizations I have been part of, and unfortunately we've been into that situation, is wherein I always say, while it is compliance might say X, organization on an empathetical level should always do X plus one. What it ensures is not only adherence to the I'll say not only adherence to the compliances, but also taking care of the team members at the same time. So that's what my thought process is, and compliance has to go hand in hand. We should not be, we have to respect that, but it should always be X plus one.
That's an excellent perspective, Miss Anisha. Thanks for giving your perspective. In fact, it is really nice that if compliance is X, that it has to be. I mean, we should go for the Express one. Of course, the company and the kind of revenue that we have, that should allow that. The CEO should also allow that. And of course, this is actually a very nice perspective. And as you very rightly said, that preparation is required and proper counseling is done in the organizations, few organizations in India and few, of course, outside India. So preparation is required. If we fail to prepare, then we have to be prepared to fail. So very nicely said, Miss Anisha.
I'll just
So
add, sorry, Venk, I'll just add one of the examples here of, I will not name the organization, but
yes,
um, while the organization did the layoffs, they were very clear on the roles that they were identifying. They had, in fact, gone back and they have also declared it along, it was a factory setup as well. So there was a discussion which was done with the labor officer as well. There were guidance which were being taken. There were consultants who were being taken across to ensure that the rights of all and each and every person is being taken care of. So if we talk about India, as of now, today, this has been very, very clearly, organizations are very sensitive. And, most of the organization try to create that balance between compliance as well as the organizational availability of how they can cater to and help the team members.
absolutely correct. Of course, I feel that of course these are coming up. Not every organization now, not it's not that all the organizations are like that, but yes, they are also coming up. They are being more sensitive to the employees, and then of course they are thinking in these terms. What you are saying. So, but the good thing is that the path that we have already started moving on that path. So, if not today, then tomorrow we are as a country we are going to reach over there. So thank you so much. So in the meanwhile, while these questions are being asked, there are a few people from the audience who are actually who want these questions, who are also asking some questions. So one of the questions is that how can leaders show empathy without over-promising or creating false hope for employees? So Ms. Neetu Srivastav is there, and she has asked this question. So I just invite the panelists to answer this question. Anyone?
So the very simple way to do that is, Neetu, to be honest, so not fake promises, to implement at times when these kind of situation arise, to be more practical with the approach. So automatically, once there is a promise which is made and that promise is converted into something which is practically required, so it would not be a fake promise. So I'm not putting out words out of it. However, I'm just letting you know that, we follow compliances, right? As my colleague mentioned, X plus one, which is a right thing. Something which is a mandate has to be done, but how it has to be done and when it is required to be done, how it has to be communicated, keeping anything and everything into mind and place is important. So whenever these things arise, so you have to be more practical with the approach, keeping absolutely empathy into place. So for instance, if there is a situation which has arisen and somebody holds a notice period of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, as I mentioned earlier, so we should be more empathetical to the person that, now there are less opportunities. So we can, mention them that, okay, the severance is of 1 month or 2 months. So we are extending it to 3 months. I'm sure that this will be the required turnaround where you will definitely will get a job. By the time, definitely you are in the radar and we will look forward to give you required support. So it should not be an immediate dejection that, that you have laid off the person and now the terms are over. No, it should not be. So whatever empathetical approach you can bring in on the table is you to be more practical with the approach or whatever promises are being made. So promises are made on two levels. One is something which is a mandate that you have to follow. One arises out of empathy. So when you club both into a sync, so that gets into a practical approach and whatever it is. So when you start doing it and practically start moving in, so it does not leverage into an overpromise, because when you are experiencing it and when you are just giving it back to the person as a part of a compliance and a mandate, other than this, what you can do in over and above, or you can go a little extra mile to help the person, that does not become an overpromise. That becomes you as a good human being and helping a person at the time when it is needed the most. So it's not overpromising or creating false hope for employees. It's all about how practically you're implementing those promises into an implementation is what matters. And see, those needs would never suffice. one after the other. It is just like a chain reaction. But what exactly we can do, how well it can suffice that particular situation in the longer run for a future prospect is important. And that's how the approach should be. Believe you me. You do it, you learn it, you get executed, you become more confident later. That's how we do. Simple.
I think I'll just add to the entire piece is wherein I will say that preparedness, what all the leaders have spoken about, Neetu, that is where it comes out to be, right? You prepare and you offer. That's how it has been done. So when you prepare yourself, you know what you can promise. When you know at the organizational level what you can cater to, that is how you prepare your entire structure of how you are going to do it, what is the promise that you are going to do. Additionally, what I also feel is that a true homework, I'll just give you an example wherein one of the examples which were been also quoted few seconds back was how you can place what you can do to hire a consultant and then look at placing your people in different organizations within the market. Now, this market study has to be done at the HR's level to know what they can cater to. I think so. If preparedness is good, then automatically empathy comes into it, and then an organization doesn't land up into over promising to any of the employees.
Yeah, and I want to add on a point
If
here. I hope I'm audible.
Yeah.
Yes, you're audible.
So what I want to say is we're discussing about empathy and ensuring that it is just not a word, but we are walking our talk. So one of the organization they had engaged a placement consultancy and they approached us and they were having list of around. Of course, it was all confidentiality. There was confidentiality maintained, and then they gave a list of around 100 people and they wanted us to pick up, in case we can hire anyone. So there are organizations who are doing this very, very sincerely, and we could really pick up 5 out of the 100.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So, Ms. Neetu, I hope you have got your answers from 3 different leaders. So that's excellent. I think you're the richer one today. So we will take one more question from the audience, and that question will be from Mr. Akash Singh. And his question is that what are the most common mistakes leaders make when communicating layoffs, and how can they avoid them?
Okay, if I may answer.
Yes, please, Captain.
Right. So I think the most common mistakes which I have seen people making are following the models of the West blindly to a certain extent. Now, the examples which we get to have in the market would be, let's say, from Amazon or any of the US-based companies. So let us also put into the picture the larger picture of how the West is treating the layoffs and how the East treats. India has to define its own unique way of dealing with the situation because we as a society are different. So if I talk about the mistakes, what I have personally seen and observed during the period of time is giving a cold shoulder, not addressing to the situation. The quality of a leader is to lead by example. So you have to be empathetic. I always say one-to-one conversation would be the best scenario for the leaders to communicate it. Just by sending the emails or announcing the layoffs to avoiding the situation is just not done, not at least in the Indian scenario. Secondly, in terms of the plan, the preparedness has to be done because suddenly when company is facing this situation, the plan is not prepared properly. So the plan has to be done and it has to be done in a phased manner. The communication has to be crisp, clear. Again, goes to the previous question. You should not be over-promising, and you should not be at the same time not going by the words which you have shared. So, laying the complete process clarity without the haste and pressing the panic button, which is already there in the organization because they are going through the layoff. So, it is important that the process has to be followed, the systems have to be designed, and then implemented. This is my understanding. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Captain. Akash, I hope you also got your answer. Yes.
Mayank, if I can add, I think, Captain, you summed it up really well. One small element that I really wanted to highlight, Akash, is the key is transparency in communication. The moment there is buzz about layoffs, there is obviously a gray point gets activated. And that's exactly the moment you feel that the leaders should come in the front and then be extremely transparent about the communication of the entire plan. So it's not BAU. And first thing is you will have to acknowledge the reality. Yes, there are layoffs, and that's the first thing the leader has to do. I think that entire tone sets the pace for the rest of the program to actually run through, then comes the final impact where the final communication is going to the impacted employee. So I think transparency sets the tone for the entire program. Over to you, man.
That's great. Yeah, thank you.
And
Thank you so
when
much. Yeah, please.
sorry.
Harsh.
So again, want to repeat this very boldly, loud and clear. Akash, as all the other leaders mentioned, it should not be ad hocism or a hit and trial method that this may work, this may not. No, you are just breaching that sentiment of a person. So a thorough preparedness is always important. We understand that the layoffs comes in sometimes ad hoc or sometimes being prepared, not being prepared, but there should not be an ad hocism and there should not be a hit and trial method. There has to be a systematic approach. There has to be a preparedness so that, things should go very, very smooth and seamless. And that's very, very important. That's very, very important because you are echoing the statement. You're the front face to the management and the leadership. So it should not go wrong. There's a very thin line, and that's very, very important, Akash. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Jain. So we have just want to remind everyone that we have almost 24 minutes left. We have some more questions from the audience, but we are going to talk about the other questions. And then, of course, if we have some time left, we are going to take other questions as well. Right. So now we are going to talk about rebuilding trust and, of course, culture after the layoffs. So the questions are going to be around that. So this question is from Ms. Anjali Sachdeva. So post layoffs, what are some of the practical steps leaders can take to rebuild the sense of stability, belongingness, and trust among the remaining workforce?
Yeah, Mike, indeed, you're talking about keywords, which is about stability, belongingness, and trust. So
Right.
here, what has happened, after the layoff, certainly the trust is shaken up completely. The scenario is demotivating, demoralizing. And now this has to be rebuilt and it has to be done quickly. One should not really wait for a long time. It has to be done ASAP, where, I think what I feel is the town hall should be called for, where, the management should be addressing all the employees with the leadership team as to why the layoff happened. Right. And then we have to start building the positivity. So it's, the downside of this thing is that there is a lot of insecurity amongst the people, and there are chances of high pot people leaving, right? And then what will happen? The company will lose the talent. So therefore, once the management is addressing the entire scenario, then they have to ensure that everybody is addressed fully well on time, and then they have to start building that psychological safety, right? And this will happen only when there are information sharing. There are platforms where employees can be heard, and the leaders should also be trained to listen to their people. They should maybe create some sort of groups and all where these can be heard. And then it's all about reinforcing the vision and mission, because as of now, company was following one path, then something went wrong. That's why the restructuring happened, and now they have to rebuild that vision, and that new vision should be explicitly clarified to all the employees, and they should know and they should align with it. And I remember in one of the sessions, Anisha was saying that the vision should not be only displayed on the board, it should be really translated into action. So it should be clearly understood by the employees. And then there should be a whole lot of activities happening around, recognition, rewards, and where, not only existing people, but even the people who have gone, they should be rewarded. They should be really remembered. So that's how, people will feel that the company has that human angle where they're remembering even the people who have left the organization, and remain in touch with those people and ensure, that they are placed properly, they're feeling well, and maybe, if possible, even be in touch with their family members. And I think these are few things which will really build that trust and stability in the employees who are remaining in the organization and also who've gone. Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Ms. Anjali. That truly highlights the aftercare that empathetic leadership demands. And of course, from your words, I can understand that communication is the key. The moment it happens, we have to try and communicate as much as possible, as much touch points should be there. as possible, so that that trust gradually, if not immediately, at least gradually it should come back. And that is the only way to deal with this. So let's move to Captain Sharma on how leaders can sustain motivation within anxious teams. So Captain Sharma, how can leaders maintain discipline, motivation, and psychological safety in terms that they may be feeling anxious about their own future? Captain Sharma, you are on mute, I guess.
Yeah, sorry.
No
Okay,
problem.
so we have to cover three dimensions. One would be discipline, second would be morality, and the third one you referred as?
Motivation.
Motivation. Thank you. I think I'll start with the discipline first. If the process has been laid down correctly, again, the compliances have to be met. What we spoke earlier, the compliances are the core of the process of the laying off. And all the employees, the rest of the team members, are seeing it through the lens of their own perceptions, because they are their colleagues, they are sort of colleague friends. So the message or the informal communication goes between them. So what we say, again, coming from the armed forces perspective, is the message has to be very clear and precise. So again, it's part of the planning which initially starts, and then it lays out to the entire perspective. How you are going to do it is the core principle from the compliance which has come, the legally correct is the discipline. Then in terms of morality and in terms of the motivation, I would like to say that it is important that the process should be done with keeping entire focus on empathy. The top leaders really have to give a very honest and candid feedback to all the organization, addressed to organization. I remember it, Zomato does it very frequently. So you really have to give a clear message and accept. There are many leaders, again, citing examples from the West, who have shared, they have apologized to the organization in a common note that, yes, this is something which has happened, this is a mistake which we did, and we are not taking pride in this, but at the same time, it is a business requirement. So if your message goes out clear and again precise in terms of discipline, again in terms of morality, it has to be high on ethics. You have to clearly come out as a leader, telling them, okay, this has happened, we take accountability for this. And in terms of motivation, yes, I think Anjali ma'am has covered it very nicely. Rewards and recognition have to come into picture. Then the HR team sessions have to be conducted. So it is the responsibility of the HR that they should hold the team meetings along with the team managers. Training could be for the managers in regards to this, or the workshops. So training department plays a very important and critical role once you are defining the motivation for the employees. How do you do that? You design the training programs around it, you give it to them so that they can further percolate it down, a sense of relief and a sense of comfort for the organization. Yes, they will be taken care of, they need not worry. So the people who have left are definitely the ones who will be communicating with these people, and so they will be again the organization, the people who are already there. So it is important that they should know that their jobs are secure, and they should continue to work with the zeal and the enthusiasm that they have been working so far. Yeah, that is what my views are about this. Thank you.
That's insightful, Captain. Keeping teams emotionally safe while ensuring performance is not an easy feat. And the best part was that it's coming from the armed forces person. So that really added a lot of value and weight over there. And once, of course, you talked about training. One small challenge over here that comes after layoffs, and that is that once layoffs happen, mostly they happen due to, of course, budgets and, of course, the revenue. So the first tax goes on the training people only. So the question becomes that who's going to train them? So at that time, of course, some kind of ambiguity comes in. But yes, of course, this is pretty important that trainings have to be designed in a way wherein people again feel a little more engaged, and they feel that organization is still even after the layoffs, organization is investing in them. So
Sorry,
thank you so much. Yeah,
I'll just add a point.
Yes,
The training part also has to be the plan which should be there during once you're deciding to lay off. You should already be able to foresee it, that this once you do this, complete this activity, it doesn't end there. What about the rest of the organization? That also has to be planned. So what you call is contingency planning, or plan A, plan B for the employees, the rest of the team in terms of the motivation. So again, the question is what you asked. I'll quickly answer that. That who should be training it? We should definitely go for external agencies, and the leaders should themselves come forward. External agencies, possibly for a design program for the same, should train the leaders, the managers at different levels, and then they should facilitate it down. I think that could be one customized solution to it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Captain. Thank you so much. And of course, I mean, your this perspective actually tells us that why our armed forces are a couple of steps ahead of our counterparts in different countries. So thank you so much for this. So, Mr. Harsh, coming to you, how can HR add strategic value during such transitions? So, if I elaborate in that, in periods of workforce reduction, how can talent acquisition teams, especially, pivot to contribute value through redeployment, upskilling, or strategic workforce planning?
See, the answer can be simple to what you asked for. We can emphasize on rebuilding that trust through internal job postings, or maybe look for some internal succession planning in the long term, that rather than reinforcing in people from outside. So this actually creates that kind of trust in the people within the organization, that yes, of course there were certain times when there were layoffs and there was certain empathetical approach which happened. However, on the talent engagement side, so of course the internal job posting, the internal planning to promote in people internally shows a very very strong belief and commitment towards the people who are a part of the organization and who has been with the organization during those turbulent times. So they also feel valued, that during those times they were still there, they did not leave the organization. So that is something which I'm having at at this point of time in my mind to the question which you asked for. So that is my submission.
Thank you so much, Mr. Harsh. That's actually a refreshing take on how TA can stay future focused, succession planning and everything that you had said. So thank you so much. So, Ms. Sangeeta, coming to you, let's talk about something that's supporting those who continue within the organization. How can we support them? So, what empathetic practices can leaders use to support employees who stay back and may struggle with survival guilt, as we say, or burnout due to increased workloads? We have seen it in different organizations. Once layoffs happen, employees, most of the employees are in doubt. They know that they don't know that either they are in the list, next in the list or not, or it's going to happen again after some days. Again, it's this wave is going to come about. So how to deal with that?
Yeah, that's a very important element to look at, because the insecurities have obviously seeped in. And like Harsh earlier called out, it's a survivor's guilt mode. I think the most important element, again, I'm reiterating, is the communication. Most importantly, leaders as well as the frontline managers start acknowledging the reality, and they openly acknowledge the fact that it is not BAU. Yes, the organization has gone through transformations, and yes, we've taken these hard decisions of layoffs, and yes, we have few deliverables to run on. Business is going to be continuing, and your productivity is important to contribute to the business, right? So from that element, I think it is important to have reconnecting to the purpose. What is your North Star? What is your organization looking at? What is your business function thriving to look at as a deliverable? Once that is clearly communicated to each and every team member, then we know that these are the goals to which we are focusing on, and that's where the work is going to be happening. That's the first step. By obvious element is, the more clearer you are, the clarity reduces the fear factor amongst the folks. That's important. And again, reiterating and taking cues from the various conversations that we've had in this very session, empathy in action. It's just not about the talk, but it's about walking the talk. How accessible are the leaders? And are we really listening? It's not just about, okay, I'm communicating and then I walk off and ensuring or thinking that everything is going to fall in place. Is it that moment? Is it just that one moment of communication, we're done with it? It's not so, right? There's going to be a periodic communication. We constantly keep doing those coffee conversations, the water cooler check-ins. All of those are important elements to constantly check the pulse on the employees. That's important. And what I would also highlight is celebrate the small wins that comes in after. So the team is, whoever is left, the survivor's guilt, right? The after effect. I think it is important. Even the small wins are being celebrated so that the tone is again set for the future goals, which is going to be all the more aggressive. I would put it that way. Now, there was one part of the question which you spoke about from a workload distribution standpoint. I think most important element that you have to focus there is redistributing the priorities. Relook at the priorities and then look at what are the must-haves and what are the good-to-haves. Obviously, focus less on the good to haves and focus more on the must have, so that our deliverables, which is the most important, is not being impacted. I think that's the important balance that I would call out.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Sangeeta. That of course I understand that the emotional aftermath of layoffs generally often go unnoticed. So and you very rightly said that we have to do this empathy in action. So it's not only a word; it is in action. It has to be brought to some action. Right. To
So
conclude
just
the
to add
round.
on,
Yes, please,
just to add
please.
on, Mike, what Sangeeta was referring to about workload. So generally, what happens, after the layoff has happened, the people have moved out. Eventually, the work has not reduced. That will get distributed to the remaining lot. So it should not happen that they start burning out. So maybe there is a need to relook at their responsibilities, roles, etc., so that they feel comfortable and they don't feel burned out. That's one
Right.
point I wanted to add.
Yes. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Ms. Anjali. So to conclude this round, of course, after this round, we are going to take some questions from the audience also. So to conclude this round, my last question is from Ms. Anisha. Let's take a look at the long-term cultural lens. So what long-term cultural signals do layoffs send, and how can HR guide leaders to preserve trust, fairness, and organizational values during such transitions? Ms.
I
Anisha.
think, Mayank, very sensitive question to be asked at the end, let me be honest. More from the perspective that, see, layoffs obviously never send a very, very positive note or a positive atmosphere, doesn't create a positive atmosphere in the organization for a longer run. And that is what we were like discussing for last 1 hour or so, wherein we said that transparency is very important. So if we are transparent enough as to the reason how we have done it, etc., I think partially we secure the fear or the kind of attribute the organization would have towards the future. 50% of the things are, are a win-win situation there. The next 50% comes in from the perspective as to the team who is already there with you. How protected do they feel? Now, when that also happens, something we normally forget is keeping a little bit empathetic side towards the leaders. And I think that is where the HR comes into picture, because end of the day, and this is my personal belief that any kind of separations and those discussions of letting your team go, those discussions, if the amount of heaviness it comes to any other team members along with HR, the most impacted are the leaders at that point in time. So I think something which needs to be also taken care of is wherein the HR is there to support leaders to address smallest and the smallest of the queries. HR is available there to listen. So they become the ears of the leader and are able to guide them across or support them when they need and intervene, or even I will say more step into their shoes and help them cascade across any such I'll say emotional breakdowns or all those kind of things which normally happens. Now when we also speak about for a longer period of time, something we also need to be very careful about is and very rightly Anjali ma'am just quoted, I always say that organizational values or missions are not one of those which should already be written on the wall, right? It should be something that you follow. So this entire layoff process should actually speak about the organizational values which were being followed. Automatically, when we are taking care of that process, all in all, during that period, you are securing your future. And when you are transparent about it, when you are very clear about it, when you're going back and telling people you are there for with multiple programs for the existing team members, I think that becomes very clear. Sometimes, and this is my personal thought, let me be very honest here, and I would like to quote that. Something what I always feel is during layoffs, we are normally very clear to the person who's been asked to move out as to the reason why that person has been asked to move out, but we never give that clarity to the people who are going to stay back. I think that transparency is very important. That why someone else was asked to move out, but not them. Specifically, it could be performance, it could be deliverables, it could be roles, it could be attitude, it could be dedication. There's a lot of things which comes into picture, and I think when there is a fairness and there is a transparent clarity which comes across here, it becomes much more easier for the leader to handle their current team members.
Right, Miss Anisha, and that reminds me of one of the incidents when layoff happened at my in my organization. So what happened was, and once the organization decided that this is the set of people, and this is the time of COVID when this happened. So at the time of COVID, the organization decided that these are the set of people who are going to be laid off, and these are the set of people who are going to stay with the organization. So on the day when this layoff happened, or on the day when it was communicated to the employees, one mail early in the morning, it was sent to all the employees. So there were two set of mails. So one mail went to the employees who were leaving the organizations, who were being laid off, and one mail also went to the people who stayed in the organization, who were to stay in the organization. So at least that that was a bit of clarity that these employees also got, that yes, they are going to stay with the organization for at least longer period of time, if not till COVID. So thank you
Yeah,
so much
so
for your
Mayank, just
perspective.
to add, there was an organization which actually did a proper town hall before the activity started of the movement out of people, and they were very clear as to while they were doing the movement, why the movement is going to happen, what all are the actions that are going to be taken care of, and how specific departments or couple of few members were being selected, and how organization is going to support them across in the longer term so that they get placed somewhere. So all these things were communicated well in advance to come to to secure the future. So I think this action in itself secures most of the time the longer period fear of anybody coming in and joining once the things get settled down, or for anybody who's already there in the organization along with the new joiners who might be looking forward for.
Right. Yeah, thank you so much, Ms. Anisha, for the perspective. So we have one more question coming from the audience, and that is coming from Ms. Vishaka. It's a pretty interesting question. That's why I just want to put it over here, despite we have only 3 minutes left. So the question is that how can middle managers who often deliver the layoffs news be supported emotionally and professionally? Anyone?
I personally always feel that middle managers should never be the people who should be delivering the layoff news. This
Correct.
is where the organizational leaders
Yes.
should be there along with the middle managers to help them across emotionally. Also, so that the right information gets cascaded. Vishaka, let me be honest, that's my thought, that that is where the leaders have to come into picture when we talk about the top management and everybody coming down and talking to people, so that they become a support system for the middle managers. Also, as I said, that the most difficult portion is for the managers to declare the news. So I think that support system of HR being available, psychological counselors being available, or proper emotional support of somebody listening or providing a solution for the questions is available on time, right information. So I think that plays a very vital role wherein middle managers can be handled very well.
That's correct. I think someone else also had a point.
So it, sorry.
Jan, sir, please.
नहीं sir. अरे नहीं sir.
Sir, hush, sir, please.
Miss Rajan, you have recalled me the moment, when we were facing this. Trust me, I'm trying to live the moment. The way you mentioned this, because we did the same. Our global CHR was there in the first place to announce the same to people. Along with that, our MD and CEO of that particular business, as we have 32 line of businesses. So the MD and CEO of the travel business, along with the global CHRO, was there to deliver. Alongside, they had those middle managers who were handling in those line of businesses. Like in travel, we have MICE, we have B2B, B2C, B2B, and also they were there. So they were echoing the same statement, so that decisive decision making can come into place, and all those questions can be answered in without just getting off that time. And that was absolutely instant with the preparedness and planning that happened in a lot of legal element and everything. So I was just, when you were talking about it, that we have lived the moment. So I was just trying to, acknowledge and, was trying to figure it out that yes, we have faced the same. and that's how sensitively we have handled it, and wherein it was supported emotionally and professionally in both the manners. So that's how I
I'll
just
quickly
wanted to put it into words with the situation which actually happened last year and the beginning of this year. So great.
I'll quickly, 15 seconds I'll take. Just
Yes,
at the same
Captain.
time, we face this situation because I work for a Japanese company, and it is very awkward situation for them to for layoffs and termination. I think demography is very important. So the Indian heads and particularly HR in the MNCs, be it a Japanese company, US or European company, has a very pivotal role to play. Second, I think HR has to be the most positive person, But I see the middle HR managers. I think they need to train themselves more in terms of empathy, in terms of more the human element added to it. Because tomorrow I also answering this question oppose another question for future for pondering over. We are going to deal with the Gen Zs. These are the people who are in the organization between 20s and turning 30s. You really have to prepare a plan for them. So the middle managers or these are the potential managers, they have to be treated in a altogether a different way. So HR has to keep themselves equipped and also support leaders at the same time does support the other employees as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Captain. Thank you so much. So, Vishaka, I hope you got the answer to your question. Yes, Mr. Harsh, please.
Sorry, I cannot stop myself. We used a very powerful statement when we did this. Unapologetically optimistic. We were unapologetically optimistic, and that's how it is. And for Gen Z, as we talk about Gen Z, there's a very, very nice statement which you made. Though whatever the situation is, when we fail fast, we try to fix it fast. That's how we do the learning and move a way forward. That's what I feel very strong. Unapologetically optimistic, and when we fail fast, we try to fix it fast, and that's how we should all have a strong belief in moving it ahead.
Of course. It is easier said than done, but it has to be. It should be like this only. I completely agree with you. So, as we come close to this conversation, one thing stands out, and that is empathy is not a soft skill, it's a strong choice for all the leaders. In moments of restructuring, the true measure of leadership lies not in what decisions we take, but in how we take them. The most respected leaders, like our panelists, are those who handle tough situations, transitions with transparency, fairness, and genuine care for people. So I just wish to thank to all our wonderful panelists for sharing such insightful perspectives, and to everyone, the audience who have joined us on Voices That Lead show. Let's continue to build workplaces where even the difficult times, humanity remains at the heart of leadership. So thank you so much for joining in, all the panelists. That's it for the day.
Thank you, man. You have been wonderful. Thank you so much. Excellent. Lot of takeaways from everyone. Thank you so much. Believe me, that's a good learning for me as well. So, in case, God forbid, if something happens, so there are a lot of takeaways, and I will try my best as an individual or being a representative of the organization to at least implement this, not just words, can walk the talk. And thank you so much, Anjali ji, Anisha ji, Sangeeta ji, and Captain Saab, and Mayank bhai. Thank you so much. You guys have given a lot of. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, really, to the wonderful, insightful session. I think HR needs to be very unconventionally conventional. So the times are changing, and so should we. That would I like to.
Thank you, Captain.
And my parting sentence will be that we have to humanize the process. And we are not dealing with machines, we are dealing with humans. So therefore, sensitivity has to be at the top.
Right.
We should stop calling it human resources, start calling it human forces. I think instead of treating them resources, it should be the forces.
That's coming from the armed forces.
Thank you.
I understand. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for making it so meaningful. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.